Hi, this is Carlos Castro with the last part of my 3-video series on Ionic Web Intents. On this last video, I'm going to show you how to use Ionic Web Intents to launch a custom Android application. Imagine that you have an application that you have created and you want to call that application from another application. That seems to, for me, that seems to be something that you want to do on your enterprise scenarios. You can have multiple applications and you don't want to have monolithic, like big monolithic applications. You want to have your applications to control certain scenarios. So you can have small applications that are fit to purpose. So you can get those applications on their own Git repositories and maintain them separately. And when you are about to deploy those to your enterprise, you don't have to stop all the operations because you are updating your big monolithic application and everybody depends on that. You are updating those simple utility applications that you may not be using that all the time. The other thing is that you are gonna be consuming less gigabytes and on your network when you are deploying this to 10,000, 30,000, 50,000, 100,000 devices at the same time. So this is one of the techniques that you want to be using on the enterprise. I don't see a lot of customer facing type of scenarios for something like that other than opening native applications that we just did, like Google Maps, the phone, the camera app, things like that. So one thing that we want to change from our application is for us to be able to use it is your application is, you don't need that action anymore. Our last scenario is going to be calling another custom application that you have. For that, we will have to use, let's take a look at the intent options in here. These are all the parameters that you can set and you can send that information. But for custom applications that you have, you will need to use the component one. Right now, what we want to do is that instead of this part, the action and the package, let's go ahead and do package and the class, then the class that we want to target from that other application goes in here in the class. And then after that, I think that's everything that you need. Just remember that second application that you want to open needs to also be installed on your device. So I already have that application installed, so that's what I'm doing it that way. You can follow up creating your own custom applications, or just copy the one that you have, or download the second application from my GitLab, and you should be able to follow along. But right now, I'm just going to build it and deploy it. Right now, let me close this in here. We don't need Google Maps anymore. Let's clear this clutter in here in this application. Let's go back to make sure first that the application has compiled completely before you go to Android Studio and redeploy your application. Just by clicking that redeploy this run app again, is just going to go and redeploy your application. And I just forgot to add a button to the application to be able to code it. So let's do that pretty quick. Let's go back to our main demo application, just here. This part, select them all. If you are using Visual Studio Code, this is what I have been doing. I click Shift Alt and the arrow down, and it's just going to duplicate the code that I have under there. Pretty good a shortcut for you. Right now, I'm just gonna call this custom app. Oops, I forgot how to write. And let's take a look at the name of the method that we are using in here. Let's double click it, copy it, paste it in here. Let's name our button custom app intent. Save it, build it, deploy it, and run it again. Now that we have compiled it, let's redeploy it again, and let's take a look at our application. So now we have the 3 buttons. We can test it, and it's not working. So we have the web intent error, and let me see my last project to see what else did I add it to that project in order for this to work. Doesn't seem that I added anything else. Intent options up to the class, employee up to main activity. You know what? I think that what's going on here is that since I haven't deployed that application into the device, it doesn't. I don't know. It stays installed on the application. Let me try it again. Let me do something here. Let me copy this exactly the way that I have it. What did it change? It didn't change anything, right? No, I'm crazy. It didn't change anything. Oh, I have a typo. Oh my God. Dude, you shouldn't be doing this type of things. Damn, you know, those are the things that bite you. Those are the things that you think that, oh yeah, it's perfect, it should work, but sometimes you don't even get it because you are like, what is going on? What is happening? And you start looking at different things and try to debug your code, and it's just a typo. At that point in time, you just want to pan fail yourself. Now that this is a compile, let's go into Android Studio, redeploy the application, go source copy, voila, it's open. So let's recap here. What we did is that we took our custom application and we call it from another custom application. I already have that one installed on my on my device, so I was able to call it. One more thing that I promised that we were going to cover in this tutorial is how can I pass information from one application to the other. So imagine in this scenario, you may want to call that second application and send information from your application. Maybe that other application is going to use that information to do an API call and search for something. or you want that application to understand as well which application call me, right? And at that point in time, you want to understand that, because if you don't understand, if the application doesn't understand that, how is going to go back to the application that call it? And that is one thing that is very important for your second application to understand. What is that application that's called me? So for that, we are gonna be using the extras. And that is the way that you can pass information to that other application. So I'm just gonna change this here to application 1, because that is the source code that I have it open. And then here, I'm just going to add the extras like this. And it's just an object. And here in the extras, you can define the object the way that you want to define it. You can add anything that you wanna add. But two things that you should always add is these two things. You wanna have the package launch, and let me change it, launching app package, and launching app class. So those two things are going to let them know, hey, this is my package name, and this is my this is the package application name that calls you. So you don't have to hardcode anything on that other application, because that other application doesn't understand that it's gonna get called from anywhere. So you want to pass that information along so that application can react to it and then go back and use that information the way that is meant to be used. So now here, this is not the right package or the right a class. So let me look at that. Just go to your Ionic, your capacitor configuration JSON, and the app ID is your package ID. You can go here, paste that in there, and then because we know that we have a main activity, if we open our Android manifest, we see here that this is the name of the package name, right? It's still here as well. You can find it either on that capacitor file, or you can find it here on the package on the Android manifest as well. But you take here this, and then you take this whole thing is your class, your activity, that's the one that you want to go back, right? And that is already here. So I don't need to paste it, right? It's already there. So you save it. The other application understand that you are calling them and you are returning. So let me put this in here. So now something that I did in this application is that I will need to cache that intent. So one of the things that you need to implement for you to be able to understand that your application is being called is that you need to subscribe to the web intent. If you don't subscribe to the web intent, you are not gonna know that application. And there is a bug in here that I found as well, that the first time that you call the application, you will need to get that information using get intent, right? And then the second time you will need to subscribe. And this is the reason why. I know that I say this is the reason why a lot, but this is actually the reason why that you want to do this. And I want you to understand this. When you call that a second application, the applicant, and you go back, the second application stay on the background. You can have a method. That method that you are going back can dismiss your application. So you are not going to need to implement that subscribe method. But if you look at performance and you are working on a device that doesn't have a lot of resources, then it's pretty bad that you are starting that application all the time. So you want to take the hit first, and then that application is going to stay on the background. And the next time that you call it, then that's why you need to subscribe to the intent. So the application understand that, hey, I'm calling you again, and you don't know because the intent is already there, but because you don't subscribe to the intent, the application doesn't know that something changed. I hope that is clear enough. So you understand it. If you have any more questions about that, just feel free to add any comments in the video, so I can go through those, and maybe if I need to, I can create another tutorial just explaining why this behavior. But it's a little bit weird. I'm not gonna lie. So what I'm gonna do here is that, do I need to do something in here? I don't think I need to do anything because this is already implemented. One more thing. In this application, what I did is that I have the OnIn Need method. I implemented the OnIn Need method. And why do I want to implement the OnIn Need method? So you are gonna get on your Angular workflow, you want to understand, hey, is there an intent that is calling me, or is just the regular workflow of the application? If there is an intent that is calling me, then I want to process that first. If the application just got triggered by the user, the normal way, you don't need to do anything. It's just the regular flow. When another application is calling you is when we want to understand, hey, in that OnIn Need, where is that call coming from? And that way you can understand how to manage the application. What you need to do is just add implements OnIn Need on your application that is receiving that web intent. And this is gonna come from the Angular core. Then after that, you will need to implement the method. Right now, what we wanna do is that we are gonna get the engine OnIn Need on application 1, and just to have a marker, and then just call the get intent data method that we implemented here. So if we go through this method, basically what I'm doing here is that I'm checking that the platform is Android and that the platform is also capacitor. This way I can make sure that this method doesn't trigger on iOS or any other. If you are running this on the web, you may get like console logs or errors, and you want to avoid that for the enterprise type of application. So it's just better to understand where things are happening. And this is also something that is just meant to be done on the device and not on the web. So the other thing that we need to do is that, again, recapping what we already discussed, is that we are going to be using the web intent, get intent for the first one, just to manage that bug that we found. And the second one is just going to subscribe to that intent. The other thing that you are seeing here that I didn't implement on the other application is that for the extras, for you to understand what you get past, you will need to do an JSON stringify and then the intent and the extras. And this question mark in here just means that if these extras exist, then just show it, right? Basically, if you don't do this, you may get an error because JavaScript is pretty picky about objects not existing, and sometimes those objects haven't been initialized, so you don't have any reference to it. So if you use the question mark after the object, then you avoid looking into an object that has not been initialized. So you ask the question first, hey, is this in the intent, does this exist? And if that is yes, then you are gonna get the information that is inside that object. If not, then you don't need to worry about it. So it's a very good way of shortcutting that if then else type of a thing as well. The way that it's implemented in here is just the same thing, but this way is like more nodey type of, like Angular type of implementation, but you can do the same thing and get rid of this stuff and just do it this way. It's just going to do the same thing, but let's leave it like that. So you got two ways of passing that information, and the JSON stringify is just going to take whatever you have inside there, and it's just going to pass that as a string. So if you do that, then you will get the actual string, the actual thing that is inside the object. If you don't do that, sometimes the browser and the logs just show as object. It's just going to do like object or something like that. So you use the JSON stringify to take that object and convert that into a string, so you can actually see what you have inside there, right? So let's go back, making sure that we are building the application that we want, that we like. So let's do Ionic cap app cap build Android in here, and once that is a build, then we just go back to Android Studio, deploy it, and we make sure that we can call it and look at the logs, and then we will be done. So now that this has been built, let's open this. Let's change this from, I don't want to see everything that you get on the device. So I just want to see what we get from the project. And now you just click it here, and let's wait until we get that on the device. So if we look at that, I have my application 1 on the device. Let me go back to the other application, the demo application. Let's call that, and then we get application 2 that is wrong. I need to redeploy this so I can get that back to application 1. So let me go back to my project and let me build it, because I changed here to call application 1 instead of application 2. So let me go do the build. And one that is now once that is built, then we can just go ahead and finish our test and see the results on the logs. And we can go through that scenario where I was saying that it captures the first thing, and then the second time that it calls, it just go through the subscription. And there is ways that you can test that, right? You can add console logs everywhere to understand what is going on your application. Yeah, so this demo app, now that it's built, let's just go ahead and deploy it. Now we got the application. Let's call the custom intent. We get the app, and then if we look at the logs, we can see that we are getting from the component, right? We are getting the package, the class, and on the extras, we are getting the package, the launching app package, and the launching app class. So those are the two things that we are passing to the other application. And that way, that other application can just go back to what it's coming from. So one more thing that I wanna do is that I'm going to dismiss this application. And I want you to see the logs from this other application. Let me just open this a little bit more. You see when this, it just stopped the application and it's open an instance, right? And you see the application is in here. If I just go and pass this back, the application got resumed, right? When I go back to the custom application, you see this thing keep passing this all the time because the application is already up, but the second time that resume when they do the app stop and save the instant of the state, it's not dismissing the application. So that's why if you don't add that subscription, since the application is running on the background, then you are not going to be able to understand that the intent change. So you want to capture all the intent change, and also you want to capture that first time. So that is all the time that I have for today. I hope this tutorial was useful for you. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate. Write on the comments below, what do you want to see next? And let's keep coding. Peace. If you completed the series, I just want to thank you for watching. And if you want to get notified whenever I upload any new videos, just remember to click the like and subscribe buttons. Until next time, this is Carlos Castro, AFK.